7 in the morning. The city is still half asleep, but warm light already glows behind the glass, steam hisses, and the first guest reaches for a cup of energy. You stand across from a place like this and catch a thought that visits almost everyone. I could open one just like it. It looks so simple. People drink coffee always. In rain, in frost, on a Monday, on vacation. A demand that never fades, and a product brewed in under a minute. A morning line to the door, a hum of chatter, the smell of fresh roast half a block away. From outside, it looks like a little perpetual money engine. The first thing that grabs you is the price. The beans for 1 cup cost pennies, yet a cappuccino sells for $4. The gap is hypnotic. You're not wrong here. Coffee is one of the most profitable items in all of food service, with a markup that often sits at 4 or 5 times cost. A cappuccino costs the shop well under $1 to make. On the menu, it goes for 4 or 5. The numbers really are sweet. A handful of beans, a splash of milk, a paper cup with a lid. It all adds up to pennies, and you sell it for the price of a small meal. Gross margin on drinks easily reaches 70 to 80%. On paper, it looks like a vein you just have to strike it rich. Every rung on the register feels like a small win. $2 in, most of it seemingly yours. Multiply by hundreds of cups and your eyes light up. And here the first trap hides. That very fat markup lulls your guard and lures beginners into a business that turns out far crueler than it seems. Because a coffee shop doesn't earn on coffee at all. Figure out what it truly sells, and the whole business opens up to you from the inside. Let's start with the entry ticket. Assembling a coffee shop costs far more than a machine and a couple of bags of beans, though that's how people picture it. Coffee shops come in a few breeds, and you can't confuse them. Under the same barista apron hide completely different businesses with different fates. The first is coffee to go. A tiny stand or window with not a single chair, betting entirely on speed and the flow of hurried people passing by. Nobody lingers here. Grab a cup on the run and vanish into the crowd. This format lives on seconds, not on coziness and soft armchairs. The second is a full venue with couches, a kitchen, and an atmosphere, where people come less for coffee and more to sit, work, and stay a while. The third breed is the self-service machine, a box with buttons instead of a barista, and the whole business boils down to renting a corner and buying cups. Behind each format stands the same choice: many cheap cups to go, or a few guests who sit. Everything else in the business flows from that. The machine, by the way, pays off fast, in 5 or 6 months. But it brings little from one spot, and the whole point is having many of them. That choice of format drags every later number with it: the floor space, the people per shift, and who you'll really be behind the counter. In real terms, a small neighborhood shop of some 300 square feet with a couple of tables costs around a few $100,000 to open. That figure hides the lease, the build-out, the gear, the furniture, the sign, and the first stock. And you pay all of it before pouring a single cup. Now the illusion that shatters first. Many are sure the machine and the beans will eat the money. In truth, the holes are in completely other places. 3 real predators are rent, payroll, and product. Together, they can devour up to 85% of a young coffee shop's expenses. A spot with flow is expensive because the flow is what feeds you. Put pretty couches in a quiet alley and they'll sit empty day after day. Next, the barista. The venue runs from dawn to late evening, often with no days off, which means someone must cover every single hour. The person at the counter isn't just pouring coffee, they're the face of your place. And that living labor steadily carries off a big slice of revenue. A barista's smile, speed, and memory for regulars sell as well as coffee. But they're people, and people want a wage every single month. Turnover here is high. You train a barista, keep them, then hunt for a new one when they leave. Each replacement is time and money all over again. The third predator is the product, and it keeps rising. Bean prices have hit record highs lately, and each jump silently gnaws at your profit. Add milk, syrups, cups, lids, napkins, water, power, cleaning, machine repair, taxes. Trifles alone, but together a heavy stone on your neck. And the thing beginners remember too late: a stash of cash for the first dead months, before the neighborhood learns to drop by your place. Add it all together and the truth shows. You're not buying a machine, you're buying a daily spending engine that must be fed money without pause. So far it looks tidy. Let's turn to the other side of the scale, the money coming in, since on paper it flows wide and confident. The average ticket swings from a couple to several dollars, and in a good spot, a few hundred people pass the counter across a day. Multiply one by the other, and a solid shop's revenue climbs toward tens of thousands a month. From outside, it looks like money is gushing over the edge. It's easy to get swept up. But ease off, because all that dressed-up revenue, along with the magic markup, is about to smash on one harsh detail. Remember that delightful 80% margin? Well, only a scrap of it reaches your pocket, and now it'll become clear exactly why. Once rent, wages, product, and every flowing trifle take their share, a coffee shop's net profit settles, at best, near a modest single-digit level. And in America, where space and people cost even more, the average shop keeps just 2.5% to 7% net. Sit with that for a moment. 80% on a single cup withers to a few percent on the whole affair. That's the entire truth about the gold of the coffee business. Now the main thing, the very turn all of this was building toward. A coffee shop truly trades not in coffee, and seeing that, you see it through. You think you're selling a drink. In reality, you're renting a place. A table, a chair, an outlet, Wi-Fi, warmth, and the right to sit as long as you like. There's the snare. A guest buys one latte for a couple dollars and settles at a table for 2 hours. Laptop open, charger plugged into your outlet. In those 2 hours, that same table could have fed 5, 6, 7 new guests. Instead, it feeds one, with a long, cold cup and an open chat window. The place is rented, but rented for hours and for pennies, and that quietly ruins you. Because you pay rent on every foot non-stop, hour after hour. The guest paid once and occupies an expensive square of your floor half the day. Into that crack between one payment and constant rent, the profit drains. So the real bet isn't the markup on coffee, it's the turnover of seats. How briskly the same chair becomes a paid order once again. That's why coffee to go with no chairs often beats cozy rooms. No furniture, no slow guests, just clean, fast, unbroken flow. And that's why in busy chains, the stools are deliberately firm and the music a notch louder. It all gently hints, drink up, recharge, and free the seat. The second lifeline isn't the coffee, it's what leaves alongside it. A croissant, a sandwich, a dessert, a second cup, a bag of beans for home. Add-ons and food are what pull the economics up. On bare coffee, as we found, mere percentages remain, but on pastry the markup is clearly kinder. A sharp owner knows the barista's job isn't just to pour, but to offer something with the cup and lift the ticket by even $1. That extra dollar, multiplied across hundreds of guests a day, is the thin line between a shop that holds on and one that quietly fades. Time for the arithmetic of return, the moment where the dream first meets the daily numbers head-on and doesn't always survive them. To reach zero, a small shop needs around 34 cups a day. Sounds doable, but that's just the survival line, not yet any earnings. To actually profit, you must sell noticeably more. With luck, the investment comes back in a year and a half of tense daily work. Often the term stretches to 2 or even 3 years, especially if you missed on the location or a chain spot unfolded right next door. So the first year, sometimes longer, you labor not for profit, but merely to return to yourself what you already sank into the dream. The mechanism is clear. Now what can send you to the bottom? And a coffee shop has far more reefs than you can see from behind the cozy counter. The first and cruelest threat is competition. Coffee shops are everywhere, and on every corner looms a chain giant with a name and prices you can't beat. Behind the chain sit bulk buying and a famous brand. Opening just one more indistinguishable shop means volunteering for the queue to close. The second threat is the tie to place. A coffee shop breathes foot traffic. Miss the spot by one turn and the river of people flows past, not toward you. A lucky corner costs dearly, an unlucky one buries even excellent coffee. Here, location isn't half the deal, it's nearly the whole deal outright. The third threat is weather and season. In summer they take it cold and stroll, in winter they hide at home, and the till dances from month to month. A week of downpours or a hard frost can crash the flow, so the day's take won't cover even one barista's shift. Weather is a silent co-owner here. You don't run the sky, but the sky runs your till. A couple of cold gray weeks in a row can zero out the reserve you saved on good days. The fourth threat is supplier prices. Beans, milk, and cups climb, but raising the latte price is scary. The chain nearby holds its own low and familiar. The fifth threat is fixed costs. Rent and wages drip daily, full room or empty, and one sluggish month swallows the profit of 3 brisk ones. A coffee shop can't hit pause. Even on an empty day, the barista is paid, the rent ticks, and the milk in the fridge quietly crawls toward its expiry. That's why so many shops go dark in the first year. The sweet markup lulls you, and then the harsh math of costs silently takes its full due. Half the outcome is decided by a dull-sounding thing: operational discipline. Really, a daily hunt for waste, an account of every gram and minute. Spilled milk, a written-off dessert, an extra barista in a dead hour, a too generous pour of syrup. Penny by penny it eats those very % of profit. The best stay afloat not because they sell the most, but because they count every cost and never let the margin leak away through small holes. Let's run a live example on our fingers, so all these percentages and dollars stop being abstract and turn into something you can touch. Say the ticket is $3 against about $1 in cost. From each order you keep $2 before everything else is subtracted. To cover a couple thousand in monthly rent and wages, you must ring up 1,000 orders. That's the roughly 34 cups a day again. And that's only the waterline. Everything above it is your profit. Everything below it is your quiet loss, dripping every single day. That's why a seasoned owner watches not the tempting markup and not the line at the till, but table turnover and the size of the average ticket. Now the paperwork. Because launching a coffee shop legally is its own layer of hassle, eating money, time, and nerves, no less than the rent. It's easiest to register as a small business on a simplified tax, a low flat rate on income. It's simpler to set up and cheaper on taxes at the start. Then health permits, venue requirements, a waste removal contract, a consumer info corner, and staff hired strictly by the book. Without the right papers and health clearances, you can't open the door. That's fines, inspections, and the risk of closing on the most profitable day. Coffee is also food, so health control here is fussy. One serious report can halt the work in the middle of your best shift. So it turns out the cozy, foolproof, golden machine is on inspection neither foolproof nor golden. And by now, you can plainly see why. We've walked the costs, the income, the riddle of place and turnover, and a whole list of threats. Now to honestly weigh it and answer the big question: should you open a coffee shop at all? There's no clean yes or no, only a sober balance between a warm dream and thin percentages at the foot of the report. On the bright side, a beloved product, daily demand, a generous markup per cup, and a warm, living business that's genuinely a pleasure to run. On the dark side, brutal competition, a thin net margin, slavish dependence on place, rising product costs, and expenses that drip every day without pause. There'll be no quick riches here. The sweet markup lulls you, and only the most calculating, attentive, and cold-headed owners stay afloat. A coffee shop opens up for the one who came in with a calculator and a clear head, who grasped they trade place and turnover, not just a pretty latte. For the one who found a spot with flow, who speeds table turnover and lifts the ticket with food and add-ons, not leaning on coffee alone. And for the one who counts every gram, every barista minute, and every tossed cup, never letting the thin margins spread out through small cracks. but the one who came for the pretty line and the fat markup, believing coffee sells itself, meets a swift, cold sobering by the underside. Let's draw the line plainly. A coffee shop isn't about a dressy markup on a cup. It's about place, its turnover, and merciless daily bookkeeping. A few $100,000 at the entrance, a year or more to return it. 80% on a cup and a paltry few percent net off the whole venture. But for the one truly ready, who caught the essence, a warm shop with a living flow of guests really does become a steady, beloved venture for years. The loser is always the one who believes to the last that all the salt is in the fat markup on a cup beneath the hum of a morning line. And the winner grasped the main thing. The game is for place and its turnover, for the average ticket, and for counting every penny slipping past the till. Now this business is visible to you from within, with its snares, sat-in tables, and percentages melting before your eyes. If this helped, you know what to do. Hit subscribe, and next time we'll break down, to the last penny, one more venture with all its hidden traps laid bare the same way. And ahead waits a business that also shines like a gold vein, yet hides its reefs exactly where far from everyone thinks to look for them. So, you still want your coffee shop, already knowing the thin net margin, the sat-in tables, and the count of every gram of milk. Hold one thing in mind. What matters isn't the beauty of the markup in your case, but the speed at which a freed table brings you the next payment, and how coldly you count every cost in this warm, fragrant, and surprisingly deceptive trade, where a dream so easily breaks on plain arithmetic. The choice is yours.